Howdy everyone, Nimby here. Just loading up part of the stream here, I'll be right with you guys. So today we're going to be tying another Dave's hopper here. This is the one we did up yesterday. Hey Shark! Morning you We're going to do up another one of these guys. Yeah, no kidding, that's a cheeseburger right there. Okay, so we're going to start off with a size 6 long shank Aberdeen hook, if I can find where I put it down. There it is. Hopefully you guys are having a good morning. It's my Monday, first work day today. Yay. Let's get you in a box, actually. What a cool fly that is, eh? That's totally like a cute little grasshopper. Get him in here without squishing him. Yeah, that's pretty good. That'll work. Boop, boop. Okay, so we're going to be using a brown or a camel uni thread. Yeah, let's get there. Just gonna get it in frame a little bit better. There we go. That'll work. Yeah, so we're gonna use a camel uni thread. We're gonna start off with some red deer body for the tail. If you don't have red deer body, you're more than welcome to substitute it with a little shuck of red yarn. Just want to bring that down past just to the barb and then back. Where put my scissors down? There we go. I didn't do as much prep for this. I just prepped the legs. Last time I had this all prepped out, so we're going through a little bit more of the prep today. Mostly because I didn't do it yet. It's fine. I was just doing the prep ahead of time to save the time, but is what it is. I think for most of the prep anyway, you guys have watched me do it with other flies in the past, so no biggie. Okay, so we're just going to cut off a little shank of red. Probably got twice as much as I need there. But we're going to stack it and clean it. Actually, I'll clean it before I stack it. Get rid of all these short guys. And where'd my comb go? Here, comb. What the hey? Oh, it's probably staring me right in the face, being like, Nimby, right here. Here I am. Alright, well, I can't find it, so we're going to use the eyebrow brush. At least I think that's what that is. Probably get caught in my eyebrows if I ever try to use it. I prefer the other comb, mostly because the metal combs don't impart a lot of static. Okay, so we got our little bunch there. I'll pop that in the stacker. Boop. Boop. And make a mess of it, that's fine. So we're gonna have to sort this down. I probably got enough in there to make 2 full tails, so might waste a little material, but we'll see what it's like when it comes out here. Yeah, just adjusting. There's her fur, or hair in this case. Yeah, it's a little on the thick side. So I'll thin that out a little bit. There you go. Okay, so this is a pretty stubby tail. We want it to be just past. There's 1 or 2 broken ones in here. I'm just gonna pull those up. There. Doesn't matter because it's a messy fly, but I'm gonna clean it up anyway. So, I want to have that as the gap height, so you can see there's the gap of the hook. Bring it just so the tips are just coming past the gap. And then tie that in on top with a soft wrap. I'm just doing soft wraps back so I don't have too much flare. I want a little bit of flare, but not like a crazy amount. That's a little too much. Well, it's not that bad actually, but I would like to reduce it a little bit. Again, just some super soft wraps right at the end there. That'll help to bring the flare down a bit. There we go. That's what I want to see. Okay, and then we'll just lock that in with a few more wraps back here. Okay, not required or anything. We do want to start our. Didn't go over it when I started my thread, but we do want to start at the 1/3 mark. We can bring this up and bury this in all the way up to that 3rd mark, just to add a little bit of thickness to the body. Not required here, but so nothing wrong with it either. I want to avoid it. You can see when I'm pulling down on it that it's twisting like that. I want to avoid the twist. Don't much care if it's super smooth, because I'm going to be going over it with the Fentex, and that will take care of any lumps. But I don't want it twisting, because it's going to impart. It'll stop it from laying on top. There, that's much better. Hey, I'll clean that head off. Okay, just bury all that in, like I said, just so we get a nice clean body. When we're tying in our Fentex next, we're going to be using this really nice light yellow, almost a creamy yellow Fentex. This is a three-strand Fentex. You can see the 3 strands there. Going to be tying in the whole bit. This is a nice vintage 3-strand Fentex. You can see how nice and fluffy it is. They don't make them like that anymore, unfortunately. But thankfully, you can still, at least in Canada, you can find this stuff somewhat relatively common in thrift stores and whatnot. I want to leave that front part of the shank bare so I can spin my hair later. Had a bit of a struggle with that on the first fly, so we're going to try and not create that on the second. Again, I want to tie this on top, so we're leaving the bottom free. And I want to bring it right back to the tail, but not interrupt the tail. There we go. And then back up again, and back, just to pin that down. Okay. Now we need to do a curl on this. I typically like to use, you can use your bodkin, I like to use something a little thicker, so this is just a very small crochet hook, but we're going to be using the handle end of it. If you got anything kicking around, small screwdriver, whatever, will work just fine. So we're going to take this, it's kind of a 3-hand job, but you'll get the idea. And then just wrap, pulling back a bit, and then I can pin that down with my finger. And that should give me a one soft wrap, should just pin it in place like that. Now if you can manage to keep that spindle in there while you're doing that soft wrap, you can tighten it up real nice. I always have trouble with it, so I drop it off and then just tie it in after. But we're looking for that little lump. You see that nice little poof right above the back, so that would simulate the rounded end on the grasshopper's butt. Okay, we're just gonna leave this here for now. I'm going to try and not get too much of this caught up anywhere. Fentex can be a little bit. sticky, for lack of a better word, where all these little fibers like to stick to everything like a microfiber. Okay, I'm gonna try and actually get this in my material clip here, so we can get the next part done up. There we go, that'll work. Alright, so the next part is our body hackle. So we're just going to be using an old cutoff. This is a great reason to save these, your cutoffs from doing your dry flies and whatever. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut this a little thicker along, so roughly about like the width of my scissors. We want it to stick out a fair bit, but not crazy. We want it to be like bottle brushy. So easiest thing to do is to hang on to one side and just touch the rachis to give you a little bit more stability. I'm just going to move my trash can out here so I don't make a big mess. And then just cut along. And just obviously try to keep it somewhat even, but again, this is a dirty, buggy looking fly pattern, so if it's a little shaggy, that is fine. Funny, when you have the trash can right below it, they seem to go like everywhere but the trash can, or float left or float right. There we go. Okay, that's what we have brooms for, right? Okay, so there we go. That's one side done. This side can be a little trickier to hang on to because you cut off your handle. But just stick with it, you'll get it. Like so. I'm thinking I'm going to have a little better luck with this one than I did with the last one. I like to have that slight color change get into the wraps. So this kind of lighter color up top. Well, that landed in the trash, unfortunately. There we go. Hey, Pilgrims. I don't know, the YouTube's, like, the last 2 streams I've done has not been pushing me out at all. Like, I only got, we got 3 people in here right now. Like, the last stream I only had, like, it said I only had, like, 30 people, but I know I had more than that. Which is a big drop from, like, 6,000 or 7,000 like the stream before, but, you know, something's going on. Hopefully YouTube smartens up and resets itself. This always happens, like right when I get to 3,800 watch hours, like every time. And I don't want to blame anything, but it's getting kind of annoying. As soon as I get to 3,800 watch hours, it just seems to not feed me out. It's the 3rd time I've made it to like only 100 or 200 watch hours for monetization, and then it just stops feeding me out. It's like, oh, come on, man. Just do the thing. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this, and the first wrap I'm going to do is going to be on the other side of the hackle, you can see there. So I got one body wrap before the hackle. And as I bring it up, I'm going to twist it. So we want this to be a corded body, and the hackle is going to go in between the kind of cord or chenille that we're making out of this. So I'm just going to continually forward and wrap this all the way down. And then that hackle's gonna fit right in those grooves. Okay. Cut that guy off. Might actually have enough for one more fly out of that. It's always good. Okay, I'm just gonna pin this down a little bit. It's gonna get pinned down with the hackle anyway, but I just want to make sure it's good. Okay, I'll do 7 wraps on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the reason I did 7 wraps there is as I rotate this, those 7 wraps are going to come undone. This is a Dave's hopper. And I'm actually going to grab, I can manage it with the other hand. Some hackle pliers. So get this in there nice and tight. There we go. And the whole idea here is we want to follow that groove that we made. There we go. Like I was saying, I like to have a little bit of that gray because they do have a color change to a lighter color up front. That's perfect. You're not going to see much of this on top because it's going to get covered up with the overwing, but yeah, exactly. It's supposed to look more like a, well, it's supposed to be a grasshopper, but you'll see in a sec here. Stay on top, poofy fluff. There we go. Yeah, it's a pretty intricate fly. I mean, for all the flies I tie, it's probably one of the top ones, besides like salmon flies and stuff. Those get like super intricate, but for a regular terrestrial, it's pretty intricate. You know, as long as we're not talking about like the realistic patterns and everything. Okay, just gonna brush that out. I kind of crushed it down with my fingers a little bit. There we go. Good enough. It's not just good, it's good enough. Okay, so the next part we're gonna do an overwing. And the overwing's going to be this nice, I can keep this tail material. From a slide note, we got some red there, but you can see there's the overwing, this nice kind of straw color whitetail. This might actually be muley, actually. I think it is, to be honest. Okay, and I'm just gonna pack this like a snowball. Got a few stragglers here I'm gonna pull out. So for an underwing, we don't want it too thick. It's about as thick as I'd want an underwing to be, about 1/8 of a pencil. Its main job is just to hold the wing up. Okay, we want this to end right at the butt section, so right here. You're not really going to see much of the underwing. It's just structurally there to hold the wing, the overwing up. And it also provides some buoyancy. So 1 light wrap, 2 light wraps. We'll start wrapping that back again with light wraps just so we don't get a lot of flare. And then I will go back and lock it in. Okay, so this is very lightly tied in. Ooh, yep, so light it spun on me, and that's not what I wanted. Okay, let's see if I can save that. 1 second. Why you spin so bad? I thought I had you locked in good enough. Okay, let's undo that actually and just do that again, because that's not cool. Why you spin? Okay, so on top, do this again. Soft wrap. Second soft wrap. That'll hold it on there, it should. I'm going to do some medium wraps going forward here to start. And then I'll go back and do some soft wraps just so that pins it down a little better. And then we're going to do soft wraps. There's always one hair that like just wants to jump in front of your thread. Every single time. Okay, so again, these are just super soft. It's just gonna hold the hair down from flaring up too much. We'll come back to that in a second. Now it should stay. There we go. Okay, that's a really good overwing. I'm happy with that. Okay, we'll get our curved scissors out. Again, that one hair is just hugging my thread. It's like, come on now. Okay, I'm going to cut these on an angle. I'm just going to be really careful because obviously it wants to spin. We don't want it to spin. Well, we don't want this part to spin anyway. The next part we will be spinning. Quite literally. There we go. I cut those on an angle. I'm too close to the eye of the hook here, so I'm going to trim these back and push this whole stack back a bit if I can. Same problem I ran into last time. Obviously, I need to leave myself a little more room than I'm leaving. That's better. I want to have just a small amount of clear shank out front there so I can spin my head hackle. You can do it on thread, it's so much easier to spin deer hair on a smooth shank if you can manage it. again, I'm just going to push that back a little bit here. And we'll bury all those little bits in. Beauty. Alright. Now, next part is going to be to tie in our legs. We made these legs just out of some grizzly hackle, tied in a knot. We have one right and one left leg, and if you tie your knots correctly, they'll be like bowed in like that, so you can see a left and a right leg. Tie your knot correctly, just come on the, when you're going around, come on the outside of the bow, so the top, then tie the knot and it'll stick out like that, so you get a left and a right leg. You want these to come out just past the butt, like so. I'm just gonna do like 3 good wraps. We can adjust those a little bit after. I'll tie the next one in. There's really nothing saying that you couldn't tie these in before you did the overwing, but I liked the overwing to kind of encompass the legs and keep everything together. I think it just looks a lot better. But your mileage may vary. So I'm going to take this here and bend these out before I cut them off, and that'll create a little ledge which will stop it from pulling back through. So like that. Okay. Now when I cut them off, that'll create like a little 90 there, and we'll stop them from pulling through with the wind or weeds or tree branches or whatever else is going to get caught up on. There we go. We'll make a little lump there, but it'll drastically make them harder to pull out. Okay, now we're ready for the overwing. And I have partially prepped the overwing. Again, I like to use this wood duck, or in this case it's a mallard dyed wood duck, just because this mallard was like over dyed and it's got this nice yellow cast to it instead of the kind of tanny yellow that you'd normally have with wood duck. So it works perfect for this because it's that really nice mottled color that looks just like the wings or wing cases for the thing with the stuff, the grasshoppers up here. So I'm just going to cut to start off with. I'm just going to cut all the way along the rachis because it's the easiest part to follow. We don't want that in the fly. And this is a medical tape, the Derma something. But it's a cloth tape that is actually quite water resistant, so you will get a good amount of use out of it. Okay, just got our rachis cut out. You can see there's a few little spots there where some of the feather pulled out, so I'm just going to clean that up. You can get flexible adhesives to help you with this too. Instead of using the tape, you can use the adhesives and make kind of like a rubberized feather. That works really well too. It's just messier, takes a bit longer to dry. And I've never had one of these come apart on me. So this works just fine. Okay, now we're going to cut this off. We want a square feather, so go right to here. I'm going to start eyeing it up and trying to see what section of this is going to be the best to make that cap. So right about there. Hey Maddie, good to have you in, man. Doing up some grasshoppers today. Fun little pattern, super intricate, but it's fun. And I'm just prepping the wing here. So you can see we cut off that section. These are all the fluffy bits on the side. What we're trying to do is shape this into basically a rectangle. And if you don't have wood duck or mallard, you can use, turkey, really like anything you got kicking around that's going to be substantial and make a good looking wing. It's not going to matter too much because you're going to be taping it down if you are using the tape. If you don't have this medical tape, this is what it looks like. The 3M stuff's the best, but you can get knockoff. Micropore, is that what it's called? Yeah, Micropore. It's also sold as Duram. It's like a play off of your Dermis. And they make a really waterproof type that is plasticky-er, but it's not as flexible. But if you want something for, like, say, baitfish patterns or things like that where it's going to get beaten up a fair bit, then yeah, that might work better for you, that specific one. Okay, so now that we got our feather slat cut out, you can see how beautiful it is, eh? What a wonderful color. We're going to trim down the light end. That's going to be where we're tying into our head. We're trimming that down into a little bit of a V, not like a crazy V, but I'm going to take off probably about 20% off either side. I want to still have a good kind of flat notch tied in, so just like that. And for this side, now we need to fold it. The easiest way I found to fold these to get them somewhat looking good and even is just to take your bodkin or any needle you got laying around. You can even use the edge of your scissors. Hold it on your bodkin like so. Try and get it lined up in the middle. That's the key point. And then just push and kind of wrap it around the bodkin. So you don't want a hard crease, so you don't want to necessarily fold this in half because you might damage the feather fibers there. But doing this, because what we want to do is we want to create a tinted wing. So there we go. So now you can see it's tinted and we haven't damaged the fibers. If you fold it right in half like a paper airplane, you will kink them and a lot of times they'll break. But that way, you'll get a nice tinted, hopefully you can see that, where it's cupped without breaking the fibers. Okay, and then we're going to come in here and I'm going to cut this off on about a 45-degree angle on the end here. Like so. Depending on the species of hopper you're trying to cover, some of them have an undercut and some of them have like an over, or some of them have you can see this one's a nice point, but some of them actually cut backwards, kind of like a caddis, so they have a hole so you can have two separated wings. The ones we have up here are shaped like this. gently place that over top. The key thing is over top. I want this to cover the underwing and partially cover the legs. There we go. Make sure your thread before you do this is in the right position. So you can just bring it up, do soft wrap, and bring it down. I don't want it to twist like that. I do want it to bind right down. Why are you stuck? There we go. Let's try again. I don't know what it got stuck on, but it got really stuck. And again, what are you getting stuck on? Okay, that's looking good. Let's just get this finished off, moving ahead here. Beauty. Okay, so I do have a little bit of a kink there. If you can avoid it, avoid the kinks, but that's not too bad. I like how that's sitting. But you can see there's a little kink on your side. They always seem to end up on the other side of my fly from the one I'm looking at, probably because I'm paying more attention. Or it could just be how my fingers are pressing in on it. You see that little kink right there. If you can avoid that, that's all the better. But it's not uncommon, even with quill wings when you're tying them in, that they're going to kink at some point. But obviously, minimizing that makes it look better. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple more soft wraps going up here. So it is wanting to flare a little more than I want it to be. Yeah, no, that looks pretty good. I'm okay with that. We'll go with that. Okay, we'll cut off the waist end. Hopefully I got enough room up front here to do the spinning. Looks like I do, so that's good. It's such a heavy, like forward weighted fly. Now's your time to do any cleanup. Not really a head, but you want this to be bound down proper. And if you're having any problems with it, you can just throw a little bit of head cement on there. If there's too much of a ledge and it's moving ahead too much, you can throw some head cement on there. Okay, so now we need some regular whitetail. I like this one's with this really nice kind of straw color. It just goes well with this pattern. We want to have about between half and a quarter of a pencil. So we're not doing a whole lot. This is just creating the head and the legs. And most of this you're tossing off. So we just want maybe a little more than that. It's always better to start with a little more because you can thin it out. And as you're cleaning it up as well, you're going to lose a good bit. So let me cut this off and get it in my stacker here. There we go. I'm not sure where I dropped my comb to. I know it's kicking around here. Oh, no, I see it right now. It's down by my feet. I must have knocked it on the ground at some point. But at least I know where it is now. That's fine. We'll use this for now. Just going to clean out all the fluff out of here. There you go. That's why you cut off a little more than you think you're going to need. Again, you can always thin it out. It's just going to be a pain if you got to add more. looks pretty good actually. That cleaned out pretty good. This was a pretty clean piece of whitetail, to be honest, as far as they go. And you want to have the whitetail, I mean, if you can get to it, whitetail body hair or belly hair is going to be your best. That's what this is. You can tell just by how hollow and poofy the other end of this is. This is just along the flank before the belly. The actual belly is going to be white. But anything along the bottom flank area is going to be your premium spinning hair. So you got them all in there. We don't need a whole lot of length on this. I'm actually going to be cutting this off and putting the rest of it back into my stacker. Now, if I need to, I can add. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Yoshi, good to have you in, man. I'm just packing this like a snowball, and then I'm going to cut it off. We do have a few broken ones in there, but I'm not worried about it because we're spinning this, but that's what we want it to look like. So you want to have enough that if you slide it over the front, that is going to be covering up kind of the whole bit like a cone there, right? So as long as you got that much, you should be good. But that's about what we're looking for. So like I said, between a quarter and a half. It's not quite a half. It's not a little more than a quarter. I'm going to cut this off. So I'm going to cut off all of this. And I'm going to hang on to it. I'm just going to cut it off into my hand stacking. On the odd chance that my spin doesn't work, then I'll have a little bit left if I need to add for one more spin. Sometimes you can get 2 spins out of it if you need to. There. And it's good to get a nice clean cut like that. I'll try and keep these packed together. Okay, because it's going to be spun, it doesn't matter if you let it go a little bit, but you do want to try and keep it as close as you can. The packing will help you spin it because it'll get all the fibers lined up. Like grabbing out a handful of spaghetti before you cook it kind of thing. Okay, and I want my thread right where it is there, so that's perfect. And we're just going to stick this in right to about here. You want to go a little bit farther back than you think you want to, because as you wrap and spin, it's going to stick out and it'll actually shorten it up just a little bit. So go a millimeter or 2 past. You should be about halfway on the bundle like I am here, so that's fine. So we're going to do one soft wrap so we're not interrupting anything. Make sure you don't get any fibers like this one stuck in there, because it'll stop you from spinning it. Okay, second wrap, again right over top of the first. Just going to pull out a little bit more thread here. Okay, now as I do my third wrap, I'm going to just commit to it, and I'm just going to go around with my tension and pull towards me, okay? Oh, man. Okay, that totally didn't work. I missed the eye. I pulled sideways. My bad. Okay, let's try that again. That was a total loss. Alright, let's try that one more time. Again, making sure it's lined up. What happened was instead of going like this way over the eye, I was sideways like here and then pulled and missed the eyeball, or missed the hook completely. Wow. There's one little fuzzball I want to get rid of here. Alright, let's try that again. That's too bad. That was a really nice piece of pack of deer hair, to be honest. I was really happy with how that one came off. Oh well. Let's start over. And we're not making like a muddler style. Well, we're making a muddler style hit, but we're not making a muddler style hit. We're making a grasshopper style hit, so it's going to be much smaller. We're not trying to float the fly or move the water with it necessarily, like with a muddler where you're shaping a whole lot. Yeah, that's a little much. So, you know, yay big, but normally about the hook gap when you got it flattened, but still feels like a lot. A little less. There we go. Okay, let's try this again. That was a catastrophic failure on my part. It felt so good too. It was almost like a complete surprise when that happened. Okay. When you're spinning hair of any sort, like I know we're not like super spinning this, we're just doing one or two wraps on it and just making a small head. But anytime you're spinning hair at all, you really want to make sure you clean it out well, because that underfur fiber will bind them together and stop it from spinning. So, kind of wish I didn't drop my good brush, but I did. So I'll make do with this one. Downside with these plastic ones is they impart a good bit of static to the hair. But they do clean well. You just got to be mindful if you're really, really dry, which I don't appear to be. It's doing pretty good today. Alright, let's do this again and not fail this time. It's always the kind of touchy part of this whole process, or any fly really, when you're doing the deer hair spinning. At least for me. You know, I've done it lots. It's always kind of like hold your breath and just get it done. Okay, so again, we're going to pack it, line it up and cut off the butt ends, because we don't want that much in there. So right about there. And most of these are going to get cut off anyway as we're trimming it, but it will just save you the hassle. And they just spin better if they're not getting caught up on everything. So, like that, nice clean cut. Again, about halfway where we're going to be tying it in. Just clean off any other little flippy bits that are coming out. Do have a couple broken ones there, but again, I'm not worried about that. Gonna push it right down the middle. Come on, get in there. Okay, looks like we're good on both sides. I do like this to be thicker on the bottom than the top, but since you're spinning it, that's not really something you can prejudge. Okay. So again, 2 soft wraps. This time let's make sure we're actually on the hook and not off the hook. Okay. There we go. Just gonna bring this up a bit and then tighten my grip on it. We look good this time. Okay, ready? Okay. Didn't flare quite as much as I wanted it, but we're gonna push it back and trim it anyway. A half-inch tool fits over this pretty well. You can use, there's all sorts of tools and pushers you can use to push these back and pack them. Packers, I guess would be a better term for it. Speaking of packers, let's try this guy. He's a little bigger, I think. Nope. I was just staring at it the other day. Here it is. So regular Bic pens work quite well. Just remove the pen, keep that part. This one's a little on the big side. The crystal ones work the best for flies this size. Like if you get the crystal Bics where it's all one piece. Mine broke. But anyway, you can also just do it with your fingers. It works well. So I'm just going to be working my thread up through this deer hair. So I'm going to get it in front of all the deer hair and then pin it back, and then we'll trim it once we get a little head done up. So I'm just going to be pinning this back. Finding your path through the hair can sometimes be a bit annoying, but there's always a place where your thread will go. There we go. To get in front of everything. Okay. And if you get 1 or 2 fibers that you're going to have to cut back, it's not the end of the world. I do try to get them all back. There we go. Now it's sitting back better. That's what I want that back swept with those couple half hitches. Should get it all back in there good. Okay. There. Okay, now we're going to trim it. Now you can use razor blade or scissors. I'm going to be using a bit of both. So I'm going to find my razor blade here. There it is. Okay, I want to take off a good bit from the top. The top, I want it to be more sparse than the bottom. I don't want to take off as much of the little finer ends. And remember, you can't put them back on. So start light, work your way around, make a couple passes. You'll feel it. The more you do this, you can feel the hair popping on it. And the back hair will pop differently than the front. This will get you 90% of the way there, and you can come back in and clean it up with scissors. And if you're confident enough, you can just go right at it with this. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to separate this a little bit here and just push it down, because again, we want these to be coming down as legs more than up top. Hey Luca, doing up another grasshopper. Okay, there we are. She's looking good. Again, we're not trying to float this like a muddler minnow head. This is a small insect head, right? So we don't want this like crazy densely packed or huge. Don't feel bad, man. It's a really challenging fly. It really is. It's cool once you get her done, though. But yeah, if this takes you several attempts, I would not be surprised. It's the reason you don't see them in the fly shops as much, right? That and they're time-consuming to tie, so there's not as much per hour profit margin in them. Come on, buddy, I don't want to cut you off. I want you to behave. There's a few longer strands I'd like to keep there. Yeah, like I was saying, you could definitely make all those more modern changes to this to make it more easy and enjoyable to tie for sure. There we go. Somehow its butt puff got kind of out of line there too. Let's fix that. Not sure how that got twisted all the way back there, but it did. Okay. Yeah, happy with that. Okay, I'm gonna throw just a whiff of head cement on there, but not a lot. Yeah, it's definitely something you should, I think it's a good time to tie it in the summer when you're kind of motivated and all the hoppers are out. and you're motivated to make it work. But I do like the fact that you can tie like an actual large hopper here without using too much for synthetic. Like I could have easily used some yellow yarn for the body, and this would have been a full, natural fly, and that part's really cool. And of course the tape is something you can omit. It just makes the overwing a lot more durable, but you can definitely do that with just feather. Just takes a little bit of practice to learn to tent it. I did nick just a little bit of the hair off. Of course, always seems to happen, but I did nick. I wanted to keep these couple strands right here, and I just kind of nicked them. But I mean, it's still good. We just want that buggy front look for the legs, and that this kind of rough head. That'll keep it bobbing up as you're pulling it in. But yeah, happy with that. So there we go. Got a grasshopper in the vise, or a Dave's hopper in this case. I'm just gonna straighten that out. I think my dog hit my tripod. Okay, so I'm gonna do my little spin and spiel here. Enjoy your break, you was. I'll be right back. Just gonna do my little spin and spiel here. In the vise today we have a Dave's hopper. This is such an awesome pattern. It's pretty intricate. We have, for the back tail part, we have some red. Let me just do that over again. Mess that right up. In the vise today we have a Dave's hopper. This is tied on a size 6 long shank Aberdeen hook. We have some red tail coming out the back, which is dyed white-tailed deer. You can also use bucktails perfectly fine, or even a little shuck of red yarn will work just fine as well. We have yellow Fentex wrapped up the body, corded so it's twisted, and then some red hackle fibers all the way up through the twist there to chase up the body in nice segmentation. Right underneath, for the underwing, we have some yellow dyed straw colored mule deer, and an overwing of this is a mallard duck overwing, but it's actually dyed to imitate a wood duck. So you can also use wood duck, or you can use turkey tail as well, or turkey wing fibers to make a nice tented overwing. In the front we have some just some regular old whitetail deer wrapped up and spun as a little head and legs. And the legs themselves on the fly are two grizzly hackles that are tied back and knotted to make those wonderful little legs, and then just cut short. All the hackle fibers are trimmed off to make those wonderful little natural hopper legs. Cool little pattern. Should definitely have a couple of these in your box for mid to late summer when these guys are bouncing all over, driving everyone nuts, and big old fish food. This thing's like a cheeseburger floating on the water. So add a couple of these to your box. A wonderful little pattern. There we go. Tripped all over myself, but we got her done. He's gonna go hang out with his friend here. There we go. Yeah, I mean, I have this fly, or very close versions of it, in several books, and they all have it listed as like intermediate to advanced, and it's a pretty advanced fly, man. It's got like almost every aspect of a fly you can throw in there besides like a quill wing, but you do have an overwing, which is almost as bad as a quill wing. So I definitely list it as an advanced fly pattern. Yeah, your flies are great, man. Don't tread yourself. Like we all struggle with different patterns. Like I really still struggle with parachutes. Like I don't tie them often enough. I really should do that one day. Just sit down and just do dozens of parachutes and get better at it. I gotta get ready for my work day though, guys. Start work here in about 15 minutes. So I just want to thank everyone for hanging out. We got the grasshopper done, and yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. You guys all have a good day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, it's a really awesome pattern, even if it is a lot of work. Thanks all. Have a good morning. Drop a like if you haven't yet, but we're all at the end here, so it's all good.